I do have a friend of mine that I met 10 years ago in one of my jobs where we had the dick boss. She's the same person. Her name's Nikki. She's the same person that deliberately fudged the emotional intelligence test. I was thinking about, like, why is she an inspiration for me? And I went to visit her recently. She's moved to Jersey for a job, and she's not long lost her mum. And I don't know if that's about her being brave or going, right, I need a complete change, because she's from Scotland.
Right.
So she's come from Scotland. She's gone to Jersey to take on this job. She doesn't know the culture. She doesn't know the community. She doesn't know a bloody person on the island. And she's just gone, no, fuck it, go on, I'll try that. I'll give it a go. But she is a real inspiration. Like, we've been friends for 10 years and we met during work and we connected very quickly. And she always jokes with me. She's like, all of my friends are neurodiverse, Heidi. And I'm like, I don't know what you mean. And the last time I saw her, she was like, yeah, but Heidi. like she's like, your ADHD is spilling all over the place. And I'm like, no, I'm not really sure it is. But she's an inspiration because she doesn't let up for a second. She is relentless and fierce in so many different ways. So whenever I spend time with her or we'll have a little chat through text or something, like, she challenges me in a way that nobody has ever challenged me before. She really makes me think. She's a real empath for the world. So we host foreign students at our house to make a couple of extra quid. And we'd accepted a student who has halal. And I hadn't really thought about it. And we were chatting about it because she's a vegetarian. Of course she's a vegetarian. She's not going to want to eat something with a face on it because she's just too good a human being for that. And she said, Heidi, why would you accept that? And I'm like, accept what? And she's like, why would you accept somebody who wants to eat meat that way? And I'm like, I don't know what you mean. And then she's like, how is halal produced? And when you're like, oh, I never really thought about that. Now, this isn't about someone else's culture. This is about, like, what we're prepared to accept as human beings as being okay. Yeah. And actually, no, it's not okay. And I think she's probably the first person that's made me work on my no's with people. Because I think, isn't it in Grey's Anatomy? No is a whole sentence.
Yes.
I've never watched it. But I picked that up from somebody else and they said, oh, that's from Grey's Anatomy. Okay, I'm not watched that program. But she really makes me see that. Like, she opens up my brain and kind of, like, I don't have to explain how my brain goes with her. She totally gets it. And that's probably because she's also on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And she's very, very clever. Like, if she, like, say, like, that rock on the table, what is that?
That's labradorite crystal.
Another labradorite crystal. So I would look at that, okay, that's a labradorite crystal. That's very interesting. It's very pretty. And that would be the end of my engagement with that particular piece of rock. Nikki, however, will then go away and look up all of the origins of that and trace it back to, like, medieval times or beyond, so that she then knows everything there is to know about that rock. And she is like that with everything.
Right.
Music, literature, the art, people. And you're just like, wow, that she's something else. But she makes me a better human being. Yeah. Whenever I go and spend time with her, I come back feeling like a better human being. And you can't really ask for more than that.
It's great when you come across people like that in life. And I call them soul sisters or soul family. And because, as we discussed, your family isn't always necessarily who you feel actually aligned with. But if you can find someone like that can have such a massive impact in your life, it has such a profound effect on everything you do, doesn't it? And you know that you'll be bonded for life through thick and thin. Whatever happens, you might have always stay in touch with each other all the time, but you know that they'll be there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of people going, well, how come I wasn't your inspiration, Heidi? Sorry, you can't unpack my brain like Nikki Karen. Sorry.
No. And are there any other sort of inspirations for your comedy? You've discussed that with people who influence you. Is there anybody else that inspires you in the in the public domain?
In the public domain, do you know what? I'm not that deep. I try not to pay too much attention. And I don't often remember people's names. I don't know if you've ever picked up on that. I don't have a good memory for people. Someone has to be truly quite memorable for me to remember them.
Yeah.
And that isn't me being disrespectful to another person. It's just that unless I've made a connection with someone, I'm probably going to forget them.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I don't remember people from university. I remember almost nobody from school. I have one really good friend from school, and that's it. And I think someone has to bring something to my table for them. And I think when you look at people in the public domain, these are people that often are not bringing anything to my table.
No.
So therefore they don't feel important to me.
They don't register.
They don't register.
Yeah.
I can kind of, and I don't know if that's because I've had a lot of therapeutic interventions. I can just go boop, and just drop them. Yeah. No. There's lots of people that get in my tits.
Yeah. We discussed this another one, reverse inspiration.
Reverse inspiration.
I don't want to be like them. But maybe that's the difference in perhaps our neurodivergence, but that's perhaps an ADHD trait maybe. Whereas my daughter's autistic and has ADHD, and I'll do things and say things, and she just points to me and goes, "Well, autistic." And I'm like, yeah, that explains that. Whereas I remember the minutiae detail of everything at the time, and it's exhausting. I wish I had quite like a pen drive to be able to download some of my thoughts. So we've talked about who inspired you. Well, how would you like to inspire other people?
I often think that because the work that I do does mean, whether it's inspiring or motivating, I think is probably a little bit. I forgot the question already. Look at that.
So how do you want to inspire other people?
I think I kind of want to show people like you've got choices. There's doors and you can walk through them, and there are choices that you can make. In the work that I do, a lot of the work is around encouraging people to make choices in their life that maybe they didn't make before, and to be a little bit braver and to try something new. And I think because I bring a lot of human baggage with me, I've had a lot of experiences of shit going wrong, and when I meet the people that I work alongside, they don't see that when they see me until I tell them. And I'm very careful about what I talk about. So I do talk about my mental health with people when it's appropriate to do so. And where it's necessary, I'll talk about therapies and the fact that I've been through mental health services. And they're often a bit shocked by that. They're like, you should tell us. Yeah, have I? Has anybody ever had that shit together? But they don't know that, and because they'll hear my voice and think, oh, posh accent. There we go. She's from down south. She's had a lovely night.
I did think you were really posh. That's right. So when I heard your set for the first time, I was like, oh, right.
No, it's all. It's just an accent, isn't it? Like any other accent. But people have misconceptions when they hear my voice, and I think when I'm on the comedy circuit, that means I've got to work a little bit harder because people will assume I'm just a fucking Tory in disguise. And that actually makes me feel like blocking. It's disgusting, the idea. But in terms of being able to kind of inspire people, I am very fortunate in that when I tell people, well, actually, that kind of intervention might be really good for you, and this is how I know why. Because I can make a connection without telling them. I completely connect with your life. As we have to be boundaried, and we have to be very sensible about not blurring those boundaries with people. But when you hear people's stories, so often do I hear my life, and I think, well, do you know what? I have sort of got my shit together. I feel like I'm quite privileged, but I earned it, and it wasn't given to me, and I had to work hard, and I still have to work hard. But I think it does make a difference when people are like, okay, you just like me. And I think that is really important. And I think when you go out into comedy, people want to make a connection with you. And when I start my sets and I talk about the fact that I'm from Bournemouth and it's an affluent place and I've got this accent that would suggest I'm quite posh. And then when I start going through my set, people go, you don't really sound very posh, actually. It kind of, what did you call it? It's an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah.
That's my biggest word of the day, Pansy of the week. That's all I've got.
Bit of gold star for it.
Thank you. I had to look at, I've heard that word loads of times and I had to look it up to see how it matched. But that's what I want to do. I want to be able to let people know that you can recover, you can get better, you can live the life that you want to. And it isn't always about, like, everyone imagines that you want to live in a big house and have a big car and actually most people just want their basic needs met. They want a warm, safe home. They want people around them that love them and care for them unconditionally, and they want food on the table. Yeah. Like, all the other stuff is just glamorous shit, isn't it?
Yeah, but that was that much to see that, but it's sadly failing in this country at the moment.
It's massively failing. People are really going without, and they're not even getting basic. I mean, we could spend hours on this, but people's basic needs aren't being met. And when your basic needs are not being met, how are you meant to manage all the other stuff? And so part of my everyday work is about helping people to find other ways to manage. And I think, well, if I can do that, and that's why I like my job. I love my job. It's great. Because I get to do that all the time. Mm-hmm. It's not always successful because some people are just not able to kind of work with me at that time, and that's fine. We're a revolving door, so I think I've worked with at least a couple of people 3-4 times in the last couple of years, and I'll probably see them again because changing your behaviour takes time.
Yeah, and it's not an overnight thing, is it?
We're kind of,
when you're in a good position, it's not an overnight thing, so now when you're fighting on all fronts just for your basic needs, then it's an whole nother level of difficulty.
Definitely.
And I think that is something I've learned through comedy and through building bliss, is showing your vulnerabilities to people really makes a massive difference. I say, people are like, I don't know how you get up there on stage and do that. But then I talk about what's led me to that. And then people, I make biggest compliments. People come up to me afterwards and go, oh my God, you were so talking about my, especially when I talk about a difficult relationship with my mum. And that resonates with so many, particularly women. And they say, but being able to laugh at that is so cathartic. But you do have to expose those vulnerabilities, and I think there's more and more people doing it, and not like having this front of everything's great, it does happen, and I think we need it a bit more. I mean, I found having to go through what I've been through recently, I've been open with my clients about struggling today. Actually, I can't concentrate on this because my brain's all over the place, but I will come back to it when my brain's working, and I'll do it properly. But it's much more hard to say that than go, oh, actually I've got COVID or I've got cold, so I'm sick. Yeah, I think we need to sort of normalise going, just having a bad day today.
Yeah.
Start it.
My friend shared this with me yesterday, actually. We were at Kick's party, and she said, I've just haven't felt well. And for the first time in years, she just stopped. She's like, I didn't do uni, I didn't go to work, I called it sick. And as she said, I called it sick, but just everywhere in her life.
Yeah.
And when you're like, why is this not celebrated? Why is women, I think particularly, no offense to producer guy over there, but why are women unable to say, I need to rest, and I need to stop, I need to call in sick? We just keep plowing on, don't we?
And then it gets worse and worse because your physical health suffers. So then, because you're physically ill, your mental health suffers. And then the spiral, it's very hard to get out of the spiral. And I was forced to stop when my mum was in hospital. I got COVID. And obviously I run my own business, so there's no one working. There's no one doing it. There's nobody coming in. But I just had to say, I've got to stop now because my body is saying, stop. Otherwise, there'll be a much more serious stop in the near future.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, you have got to listen to yourself. I think you have to do that as you get older as well, and you're fighting on the older lady conditions that we have to face as well.
It's all about menopause.
Yeah.
I can hate that. People say that phrase, oh, I love that for you. Like, can we not switch that? menopause. Hate that.
Yeah.
It fucking stops, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Also, apparently there are 67 different menopause symptoms, and there's probably more. 67.
Well, I heard this day that GPs only get 2 hours of training after the menopause.
Wow.
So that's it. That's the standard provision. So especially if you go and see a male doctor and then experience it, they've had 2 hours training and it's like, just pull yourself together.
Literally the most irritating comment. I mean, if anyone in Liverpool listens to this podcast, is a really top tip for you. If your GP isn't paying it, because this is the arena I work in, if your GP is not paying attention to your symptoms, ask them to get on, and they do a weekly call with a consultant called Paula Briggs. She's like a menopause guru. There's nothing she doesn't know. But GPs can have constant access to her and ask her questions. And so I met her at a seminar, and you know when you're like, oh, I'm so glad I did, because now I have a coil and I'm not gushing everywhere. Yes.